there's this narrative on the left that they're taking jobs that Americans will not do or don't want to do. And it's absolute nonsense. There's not a single industry in the United States that's done by a majority illegal migrant labor. The highest rates are about 30% in agriculture, which means 72% of people working farms are American citizens. And it is just so disgusting to say these are jobs that are beneath an American. Turns out Americans don't think that. When you have mass deportations and a closed border, employers have to pay more wages. And guess what? Americans are happy to take those jobs. You look at the 1970s, which is when working class Americans could really afford to support a family in dignity on a single income. The share of the population that was foreign born in America was 4%. You look today and it's over 15%. And of course, if you're here and you're an illegal migrant, you have two options. Either you're working, which means you're driving down the wages that an American worker could have asked for if you weren't there competing with them for a job, or you're living off the social welfare state, right? There's no third option here. And both of those are utterly, utterly unacceptable. And yet the elites in both parties, as you rightly point out, Rita, have been very much enjoying this because they are the consumers of low-wage labor. So, of course, they would rather pay a nanny $40,000 a year under the table than pay an American $70,000 a year and give them benefits.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and most importantly, please make sure that you are following me on Telegram at CD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. With the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news. And today we have to head on over to Georgia and New York. We have to head on to both of those states today because today there was a major multi-state ICE raid in both states in which close to up to 500 illegal immigrants working illegally at Hyundai manufacturers were arrested, rounded up, and taken into custody. And the wailing and gnashing of teeth is great when it comes to DNC lunatics that are upset about this. And we're going to get into that in just a moment. But first, I want to talk about this very quickly because I think that this is something that you all should be and will be very interested in. Look at this here. Huge. President Trump is considering banning American IT firms from outsourcing their work to India. Per multiple reports. Do it, 47. Quality of life will go up for every American. Do you know how major that would be if Trump actually did this? How many jobs would open up for American citizens here if this actually goes through? If Trump actually makes this law and brings home all those jobs that have been outsourced to India, but now we get those jobs and those opportunities here. That would be major. And of course, you got people that are mad about it. Look at this really quick. Look at this here, this dummy. And this guy too, I clicked on his personal information. It leads to his Telegram. He is an Indian man who's essentially anti-American, right? He's anti-American. Look at how upset that he is at the possibility of American citizens, actually being able to work for American companies, right? Here in this country, and the jobs not being outsourced to India, where he's from. Look at this. Shocking. Trump is evaluating to block American IT firms from outsourcing to Indian companies, potentially devastating India's IT industry. What about the American IT industry? What about us here? These are American companies. What about our IT industries? What about the American citizens? He could care less. He could care less. And I'm willing to bet you that this guy lives here too. I'm willing to bet you he lives here. He goes on to say, if this happens, India must consider it as an act of war, literally. Wow, really? I don't think you want to take it there. I don't know if that really work out in your favor. He would also go on to say, this should be a red line, F Trump. Oh, this guy's big mad. He is so mad at the idea of American citizens having the opportunity to work for American companies in our actual country and them not being outsourced over to India. Why are you so mad about that? That's very strange to me. Once again, I'm willing to bet you that this guy lives here in the United States. He put up another post too. What did he say here? If Trump takes orders to snatch contracts of American companies given to the Indian IT sector, then India should block US firms like Google, Facebook, YouTube, etc., so that these companies won't get 1.4 billion people access. Will Trump do this? Will Trump do the biggest blunder and play with fire? He should. He should, because it would work out in our favor, not in India's favor. So far, since Trump has been in office, each and every time countries try to play chicken with Trump, Trump has come out on top every single time. So if you want to play, we can play, but Trump will come out on top and India will cave. But I don't think that that's going to happen. But at the same time, we have to wait and see if this actually happens. So let's not count, our eggs before they hatch. But if Trump does this, that would just be major for the American people. That would be major. Now, what else is major is what's going on with ICE and the close to up to 500 people. They're saying that this is the largest ICE raid in American history with these 500 people being rounded up. I'm not so sure how true that is. I'd have to look into that a little bit more. But this is a big deal, and Democrats are upset about it, not surprisingly. So let's get into that next. Let me pull this news clip up for you guys, and we'll dive into this.
Today, federal officials confirmed ICE officers have arrested at least 475 undocumented immigrants at a Hyundai manufacturing site in Georgia, and more people were detained at the business in New York. Welcome back to Action News Midday.
Now, the move sparked anger and frustration with the New York governor, who is saying she's outraged by people being separated from their families. ABC.
You cannot get any more un-American than a Democrat. That is like, I'm not even mad at the guy we were speaking of earlier, who the Indian guy who was, talking real tough concerning Trump, stopping the outsources of IT firms going into India and keeping those jobs here. I'm not even that mad at him, honestly. I mean, because at the end of the day, I guess he's fighting for his country, even though he most likely lives here, as is typically the case. But I mean, at least he's an Indian man fighting for his home country, regardless of the fact that he may live here. I can respect that. I can respect that. What I cannot respect are American citizens like Kathy Hochul that is upset at the idea that American citizens will now have an opportunity at these jobs that were hiring illegal immigrants illegally, knowing that they weren't supposed to. But now those jobs will open up for American citizens to take, as they should have always been to begin with. Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York, is upset about that. She's not happy for the American worker. She's upset that apparently, allegedly, families are going to be separated. Once again, you can't get any more anti-American than a Democrat. That is an insane response for her to have. But I digress. Let's continue.
Spark anger and frustration with the New York governor, who is saying she's outraged by people being separated from their families. ABC's Rena Roy has the very latest.
475 people detained by immigration officials at a Hyundai manufacturing site in Ellabell, Georgia, Thursday, just west of Savannah. The ATF Atlanta office is posting these images on social media, saying they were there to assist.
This has been a multi-month criminal investigation where we have developed evidence, conducted interviews, gathered documents, and presented that evidence to the court in order to obtain a judicial search warrant.
Department of Homeland Security officials say this was part of an ongoing criminal investigation into allegations of unlawful employment practices and other serious federal crimes. DHS saying it underscores the commitment to protecting jobs for Georgians, ensuring a level playing field for businesses that comply with the law, safeguarding the integrity of our economy, and protecting workers from exploitation.
And that sounds good. That sounds great. And I want to believe it. But this is the thing that has to follow, man. These arrests are good and much appreciated. But if these businesses do not get held accountable and slapped with extremely stiff fines, and the fines have to be consistent. When you violate, bam, you're going to get hit with a fine so hard, you are going to think 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 times before you commit this act of treason, as far as I'm concerned. Again, unless you do that, this stuff is going to continue. It's going to continue. It will. I'm going to say this much, though. I'm going to give ICE and Department of Homeland Security all the credit and the applause that they deserve, because they have been rather consistent at going into these companies and removing those that are working illegally. Right. This isn't the first time that we've seen this happen in California. I believe there was another company. I did a video on it a while ago. I think it was in South Carolina or maybe North Carolina. It was one of the Carolina states, so they are going into these businesses, into these warehouses and these manufacturers, and they're making the arrest. They're removing these people from out of these companies, forcing these companies to have to, hire American citizens. But at the end of the day, all of that will be temporary if these businesses continue to skirt by without having to pay some sort of penalty, a fine, if they themselves are not held accountable. So that has to be done. Let's carry on and see what else they're going to say and break down in this video.
That comply with the law, safeguarding the integrity of our economy and protecting workers from exploitation.
There are no criminal charges being announced today.
More than 24 people detained are South Korean. The country's foreign ministry.
I stopped too soon. When I gave my whole little speech about being held accountable, what did he say? No charges are going to be handed out today. You see, come on, man. That's what I'm talking about. That's horrible.
Protecting workers from exploitation.
There are no criminal charges being announced today.
More than 24 people detained are South Korean. The country's foreign ministry voicing, quote, concern and regret over the incident at the plant, which is run by South Korean companies, saying individuals' rights should not be unfairly infringed upon. Meanwhile,
what about the rights of the American citizen? That's crazy. They said we should be able to do business in your country and do whatever we want, even if that means not hiring American citizens. We're going to hire our own who are there illegally. How dare you infringe upon our rights? And then you have people like Kathy Hochul, who is as anti-American as they can get, siding with those in South Korea. Or is it North Korea or South Korea? In South Korea, I believe. You're siding with the international companies over the American citizens. Unbelievable. But it's actually very believable.
in upstate New York on the same day, at least 40 people were detained at a factory that makes specialty nutrition bars.
The workers here, like I said, they're great people. Love every single one of them. We can't do what we do without them.
I won't support any effort to separate families. I think it's appalling. I have said all along, I will help the federal government remove people who are threats, that are violent criminals. That's what the president promised during his election.
No, he didn't, you idiot. He said everybody. He said this was going to be the greatest mass deportation effort in American history. He did not restrict it to those with criminal records. Dummy, shut up and stop lying.
And this is what we are told. Go after the worst of the worst. It's all we heard about. And now you have raids.
Now, officials have not provided details on that New York operation, but the local sheriff's office says it was a Department of Homeland Security criminal investigation. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Democrats hate America. They hate America and they hate American citizens. That's genuine disdain for American citizens. What you saw from Kathy Hochul is genuine disdain for American citizens. Just genuine disdain. And you wonder why the Democrat Party is collapsing right in front of your very eyes. Why they have the lowest approval rating ever recorded. Why they're in a deficit of negative 4.5 million registered votes. Of people are registering to become Republican like crazy. And that's not just new voters. Those are also consisting of voters who are once independent that have flipped into Republicans, and most importantly, a good number of them are Democrats that have now flipped Republican. And you wonder why? Because you're anti-American. It's disgusting, man. That is so disgusting. Listening to Kathy Hochul speak. That's as when you're talking about the worst of the worst. That's you, Kathy Hochul. You are the worst of the worst. You are the enemy within. And with all that being said, that does it for today's news. So I want to thank you guys for joining me today. Please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video on your social media platforms. And please do not forget to follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link to my Telegram is in the description box below and pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you all for your time. Until the next video, peace and have a great afternoon.